Welcome back. In this episode of Oxygen Not Included, I'm going to go ahead and try to make my little growing system down here a little bit better. How am I going to make it better? Well, I'm going to try to heat this up in such a way that it is a little bit more gradual. So rather than using a space heater, I'm going to go ahead and try to use lights. So this is in response to a Morrissey's recommendation here, is using ceiling lights to heat the plant rooms instead of the space heater. So it isn't heating up so high, so there's not a ton of energy pumping into that room before the sensors turn it off. So the idea is to heat it up gradually. You can cool it down quick, but you want to heat it up just gradually so it stabilizes and you don't have to worry about it. That's the idea right there, which I thought was a pretty clever use because you know what? It works for like growing weed. So why wouldn't it work for this in the game? Not that I would actually know how to grow weed. I mean, gotta keep it family friendly. YouTube's gonna kick you off the internet. Actually, true fact, my neighbors down the street, like when I was growing up as a kid, they got busted for growing weed, like lots of it. It was pretty intense. Like a whole SWAT team rolled up and they just jumped out with, guns and everything. Next thing you know, they're going through the people that were in the house and making them walk the walk of shame down the street as they're kicking them out one by one. It was pretty intense. Just goes to show, if you're gonna grow weed at home, don't try to sell it to people that are waiting at the bus stop before they're going to school. It's kind of a bad idea. See? That's some family-friendly, truly legitimate advice for you. Although apparently, according to Toolkit 71 down here, Brothgar, for beer and wine making, you use a 60-watt light bulb in an enclosed crate and a fan to control the temperature to very high tolerances. See? Light bulbs are used for heating stuff all over the place. Speaking of heating light bulbs, as you guys may have heard from some of my previous videos, I'm actually trying to make my own giant 3D printer, and I'm thinking a light bulb like this might actually work for heating the bed or maybe just the area that's around the print to get more stable temperatures. The core thought behind this is that it's a whole lot cheaper than trying to make a whole really hot heated bed. I don't know. We'll see if it works. So there's a bright idea for you. Let's go ahead and see how it all works out, huh? I'm sorry. You hand me a pun like that, I gotta do it. The other thing I'm going to try to do here is create a liquid lock instead of having two of these doors. Because every time you open up this door and then you go through here, you're actually getting a little bit of pressure difference, and you can see some contaminations finding its way into this bottom chamber. I've seen people use like a liquid lock, and you guys have talked about it a few times in the comment sections below. So what that more or less is, let's just see if I can do it over here and we can actually travel through it. This base is kind of sketchy at the moment, whatever. So here's the idea, right? We just make something like this. 2 tiles tall. So I leave a space just like this. So the idea is that we can take a ladder and just drop that right in here, very simply, and then add water, however you want to get that water there. That is up to you, but you can put some water right here, just like so. Maybe leave a little spot right there. And gas should not be able to flow from this side to that side, but your people should be able to walk through it. Let's see if May is gonna run through this. Oh, you know what? Here's a good opportunity. You ready? The follow cam. Fancy. Here goes May, down through the liquid lock. Gets a little cold, but you know what? None of that gas is traveling through. So that right there, however you wanna, pump your fluid in there, you can do it. But I'm gonna put that right here so that way the gas pressure, once I have it right in here, should be stable. Once the temperature's good, boom, should also be stable. So let's go ahead and rig that up and see how it all works, huh? Taking a look at my power grid, things are gonna get a little bit more complicated. All right, so I'm gonna use the ceiling lamp right here, and from the material, I'll use wolframite because it's good at transferring thermally. So let's go ahead and just add a couple light bulbs on each side right here. Boom, that'll give off a little bit of heat, and then I will figure out how to plug it in. I might be able to do it with less light bulbs. Let's go ahead and just try different amounts. All right, so this one's gonna have 4, and the one up top will have 2. Just see how it all works out, right? That's what this is all about, experimenting. Oh, you know what? There's a better way of wiring this. Here we go. I got it. This is the in feeds over here. Temperature switch. Pressure switch. And then the heat switch. Aha, see? Just took a little bit more thinking right there. And we can see what kind of temperature is being given off here. If we actually just take a look at the oxygen here, you can see how that number is actually going up pretty quick, but not real fast. So those wolframite lights, they really want to transfer. They have a high thermal conductivity. So if we look on over there, so that thermal conductivity is up to 15. So therefore, it can transfer between the oxygen and the actual physical material itself very quickly. So it should warm up the gas nice and fast, which may not necessarily be what you want, but I don't want to have a bunch of residual heat inside of this lamp so that once it gets hot, it then brings the entire room up to a ridiculous temperature. All right, so let me add some more water to this. Boom, all locked off. So that's just 6 tiles of water right there in order to get in and out. Now obviously this temperature of this water is going to affect what's in this area here. So this could work for everything that's warmer than freezing. So bristle blossoms are just barely possible that you can do it, but these mealwood are gonna be just fine. See how this one's flicking on and off a lot? Oh, it's kind of interesting. Some of these are staying on a little bit longer than others. I'll zero everything out so we'll get a good benchmark of what's actually working and what's not working. All right, so making sure that all of this here is a vacuum. So that'll even everything out, and then I'll pump in all of the oxygen over here to fill up that space. So there should be nothing but vacuum, and there should be nothing but oxygen that's getting pumped into this space over here. The other thing I want to make sure is that all of these numbers are the exact same. So if I go over to my little sheet over here, we'll see that the numbers I need for mealwood is between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius. So if this is below, if I can get the slider right, let's go below 20. That's pretty close. There, 19.6. The light bulbs are going to turn on. But if it's above, how about 22.7? I'll set them all for about as close to that as I can get. Here's a trick. If I drag this all the way to the right, it should zero out. There we go. So above 21 degrees, boom. Aha! That's the trick. Just slide it all the way over and then bring it back. I thought it was the trick. It didn't work. All right, so here we go. Things are trying to settle out. Let's see how this all works. So this system in the middle has both its lights on and is trying to cool itself down. So it's actually doing double duty up in here. The one at the bottom kind of is doing this number. The one at the top is only doing heating. Okay, so what's going on is I just don't have very much oxygen over here. So it's taking a long time to try to stabilize those areas. And for the sake of it, I'm actually going to go ahead and make the pressure in here higher. I'm going to take it all the way up to 2,000 grams. No, actually I'm going to take that back down because if this pump turns on, then it's going to drop the pressure a little bit. So how about 1,500, right around there. The reason I'm thinking of that is I want to have it be a little bit more mass in there. If you have more mass, it'll be, I think, a little bit more stable. So looking right at the center of the bottom base right here, so the ones with the hydroponic tiles, you can see that the oxygen here is right at 20 degrees Celsius right there. And as I kind of pan around from on each one of these tiles, it's 19 degrees, 20, 20, so not bad. Meanwhile, the base at the top here is just cold, so it's just trying to warm up, so it's taking its sweet time. You can see that these ceiling lamps are giving off a little bit of heat production, just 2.5 watts, that's all, just a little bit. Another idea for keeping this chamber the right temperature is to have like a balancing chamber. So similar to what I've shown over here, where you just control the temperature in that area, and then the gas that you're pumping in is at a very accurate temperature. That's the kind of the idea. So if we take a look at the temperature here, we'll see some things that are kind of revealing. Obviously having the vent here just on the left side, probably not the best idea. It's not very balanced. You get a little bit of extra cold over here and you get a little extra hot over there. This one, the problem up here is that it is just taking its forever to heat up. It's a very, very slow process, but that's kind of what you want. That being said, it's probably not a bad idea to maybe have 3. Maybe throw down a little floor lamp or something right there. Of all these bases though, the middle one seems to be the least balanced. It seems to be struggling. It's like it doesn't quite have enough energy to heat the air up quickly, so it never actually turns off, and this one over here has just been running constantly, so it gets kind of hot. So I'm thinking that this is just not the right setup. What if I just disable this top right lamp here and kind of see what happens if I just run 3? So even though this system down here occasionally runs because things get a little bit warm, the temperature that all of these areas where the oxygen is all pretty good. It's a little bit warm over here on the right. So I tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and move this vent to this top left. Another thought is to have it kind of balanced on both sides, but I'm thinking further away from the plants is probably a better idea. So this liquid lock is actually starting to move on over into this space. That's not really what I want. It might be worthwhile to go ahead and do this number, just to make this one extra tile taller. There we go. That's a little bit better. So this one here, this just is not working in the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and change it up a little bit. Just gonna go ahead and fire up lights on the left side here, so I'm gonna make it a little bit more focused on that side. Same sort of deal I'm seeing up here, is that it's colder on the left, warmer on the right, because that's kind of where it's sucking out all that stuff, and I don't know. So I'm gonna try that same method over here. Just double up on the power on the left. Not to mention this is just going so slow that 3 lights is probably gonna be needed. Alright, so you can see how this is working. So this here, things are jumping on and off, but look at how much more even the temperature is in this center chamber. I mean, I'm fine with it kind of, you know, trying to cycle and all that stuff. That's just fine. The top one, still kind of a little bit unbalanced. Down here on the bottom, this seems to be working out just fine. It does turn on and off a little bit more, but it looks like the middle one, this is the right idea, putting those lights on the left-hand side there. Look at how nice and even that is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and disable this lamp over here. Same sort of idea, I'm just gonna disable 2 of these lamps down there, because that seems to be the right method right here. Yeah, see? Look how much closer in temperature this stuff is getting now. That's working out. The only one that's struggling is down here on the bottom, just a little bit. There we go. See, now it's starting to even out. Just takes a little bit, that's all. So now let me go ahead and plant my mealwood in all of these places here. This liquid lock seems to be a good idea for this sort of thing. So I'm not getting that temperature that's coming in there. It seems to be working out just fine. I mean, sure, the liquid moves around, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna have any problem. Again, just as long as nobody comes on over here and starts sucking away. All right, so taking a look at the plant condition down here. I got irrigated, ideal pressure, fertilized, and the standard temperature is still avoiding me just a little bit. It's at 19.9, that should be it. What do I have up here? Ideal temperature, ideal pressure, and fertilized, so that's great. You're gonna get a good yield out of that. Maximum of 75 right there, which makes sense because you got 3. Up here, these should be getting 50 as well. All right. Somebody was asking me what's the difference between a planter box and the farm tile. If you can go ahead and all you can get is good out of it. That's a good question. I think the farm tile just has more available to it. So if you're not working in perfect conditions, it's easier to get a good yield out of a farm tile than it is out of a planter box. That's about my only difference, as far as I can tell. You don't necessarily need to have ideal temperature. You can avoid one of them. So the farm tile is a little bit more flexible than the planter box. So the main reason I'm not expecting an excellent yield down here at the bottom, some of this is a slight bit too warm. It's just a little bit too warm because of this liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can drop the temperature on that liquid a little bit. Take 20 kilograms of liquid oxygen, maybe from my polluted oxygen refiner up here. We'll just drop it down there, see if that drops the temperature at all. Nope. How about 200? There we go. See, that made a difference. Boom. Just cooling this down with liquid oxygen. So your in-feed temperature from the polluted water is going to be real important as well. So let's try this, just for the sake of it. I'm going to take liquid pipes, and I'm going to make this out of wolframite. And then I will drop it down through this area here. So that way, the temperature between the air and the pipe should try to normalize it a little bit more as compared to just running off of whatever its source is. I don't know. That's an idea, something to play around with. All right, so now that I've let the temperature settle a little bit more here with these wolframite tiles and a little bit cooler polluted water that's coming in. I mean, look at that, it's 19.4. That's about exactly what you want. This here is predicting excellent yields for the first 4. So that'll be great. Okay, another thing I've noticed here is that I've got a little bit of carbon dioxide that's built up in here. So my pressure, which was a little bit lower, is now quite a bit higher. So this is over 2,000 currently. So this gas vent isn't able to run as efficiently as possible. So I'm getting carbon dioxide that's building up down here at the bottom, and that's what's going on. Probably a good idea to keep this a little bit lower instead of higher. So I was not necessarily right about that. So with that in mind, it's also a good idea to probably have a gas pump in here, or have an option for this gas pump to vent oxygen out of the system. So in case the pressure gets too high in here, you have a way of lowering it, since you don't have just doors that are available to you. Hey, there we go. These have passed on over into excellent yields. Nice. All right, so this system I think works a little bit better. Having that liquid lock solves the problem of having that pressure difference between all the doors, or having a whole series of doors. So that's pretty neat. That other idea of using lamps for a heating element right there, I think is a great idea, because we saw that this turned on and off quite a bit less than my last system, which was in my previous video. So that in turn saved us a lot of power. So I think that's definitely the method, or the way to go. So probably space those lamps out and put them close to wherever your cold, vents are as well. This system here seems to run really good and not take much energy at all, so I highly recommend it. So there you have it, a little bit of crowdsourcing ideas, and we've come up with a pretty good farming system right there. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this episode of Oxygen Not Included. Let me know down there in the comment section below if you want to see more videos like this, or you have different recommendations you want me to try out. As you can tell, I read the comments there and try to explore different ideas. If I've earned your subscription, then thank you so much for that. Hopefully I'll see you again next time. Stay awesome. Peace. Brothgar out.